All right, let's get started. I believe we have almost everyone. So thank you very much for attending the first release webinar, and I really hope you find this information helpful. We'll be asking for your input at the end of the series so we can determine what the subject of the next webinar is going to be. So we're going to have 3 options. And you'll be able to choose whichever one gets the most votes is the one we'll do. And you'll also be able to register for the next webinar with a QR code, and we'll show that at the end as well. Please ask questions. Josh is going to be monitoring the chat and the Q&A for any questions. And I will have time at the end, and any questions we don't get to, I promise I will email you the answer to them. Okay, so I will answer all questions. All right, 2021 release 2. There's a lot of really cool, interesting things that Intacct has put out for us. We're only going to see a few of them. And you can always go to your home screen, click on release, and watch videos and see in-depth detail of all of the release notes for the entire release. So I chose cash management because there's lots of enhancements there: general ledger, inventory, and reporting. So the very first enhancement comes around bank transactions, and Intacct has really tried to make getting to that data easier. So what they've done is they've given us several places that we can go to access the data, but putting it all in one place as well. So if you needed to drill down on those bank transactions, you can do that right from your checking account window. So there's that banking cloud detail where you would go in normally and connect the bank. Well, now below that has got all your transactions, and you will have the ability to create a transaction here from these bank transactions in order to match them. You'll be able to match, unmatch, ignore, create additional, and then view all of your transactions as well. So you can kind of act on them all in one place. So the other place that we can go and we can see our bank transactions is in the listing. So prior, we only had a column for our pending reconciliations. They've added another column to give you access to the bank transactions depending on which account that you want to see them for. So we can see them here in our list for checking accounts. And then Intacct has also given us the ability to combine all of these accounts, but in the banking cloud. So for example, if you've got a debit account and a checking account and a savings account and a money market account, all within Chase. When we connected those previously, we had many issues, right? It was bringing in duplicates. It just did not know the difference between the two accounts. So now Intacct allows you to set up a financial institution and then map those accounts to the institution. So then when you go in and you get your transactions, they appear on that transaction list and they're by account. So this should make it much, much easier when you have those different types of accounts. And the next enhancement is probably one of my favorites because, as you all know, I'm an accountant and I never get to see those posting details in some of the screens. We just have to take their word for it. It's going to be posted. Well, now in different areas of cash, we've got other receipts, funds transfers, interest and charges, and credit card charges. You can go in and see a posting details screen. There's a second tab. So you're going to go in and be able to see that journal, drill down into the journal and see the actual entry that was made. And then if it's an enter entity transaction, you're going to see that enter entity posting as well. So you're going to see all of that within the cash management module without having to go run my favorite report in the general ledger. And I think I warned some of you about this last week and the week before. So this is going to be relating to any bank that is connected to BankFeed, right? So it does not apply if your bank has not been connected. You're going to be able to reconcile just like you always did. But if the bank is connected and you have transactions coming in and you're using the matching feature within Intacct, you're now going to have to set up a rule in order to do that reconciliation, because the old attributes are no longer in the system. So you'll get an error that says you must set up rules before you can reconcile. So what they've done is they've made it a little more intuitive so the system can understand exactly what you're trying to match, and you create conditions. So you look at the bank list, the transactions from the bank, and you have options, and then you have the same options that can equal the Intacct transactions. So we're matching posting date to posting date, document number to document number, and amount to amount. What this does is that it keeps you from having unmatched transactions. So it gives it a little more intelligence to be able to figure out which transactions need to be matched. And then you can also group those Intacct transactions by document number or by posting date, or both. So once you set up your rule, the next step is to add a rule set. So the rule set is just going to be the different rules we're going to apply to the different accounts, because some accounts might require additional rules to be able to make that matching process more successful. And some accounts, maybe they only are transfer accounts, or they're very limited in transactions. You wouldn't need as many rules on those types of accounts in order to get them set up for the banking cloud. So once you set your rules, then you add those to the account. You're just associating your accounts to your specific rules. And then the system goes in and matches those using the new rule set and rule features. Okay, so don't forget, if any of them are connected to the bank, you must set up a rule, at least one rule. Okay, and in the demo in just a second, I'm going to show you exactly what one rule that can be set up that mimics the old standard attribute rule that you're used to. Okay, so that way you can see it, and it's a pretty simple, straightforward process, but we need to at least get one set up so that we can continue that reconciliation process. And one more awesome thing in cash management is related to credit card transactions. So previously, anybody that's using projects that has to go out and mark their different transactions billable, we were unable to do this in credit card transactions. We've gotten that billable flag is now added, and you're able to generate invoices by customer and project with those billable charge card transactions included. And you can also run a report to see any billable expenses, regardless of what their source is. Now you'll be able to see all of those credit card transactions in there as well. And they gave us another dashboard. Actually, this is a component that is built into the dashboard. So when you go in, you create a dashboard, you add a component. This is your close through summary. So what this tells you is what modules have been closed by which entity. If you've got multiple entities and you are closing them at different times, this would be very helpful to be able to go in and know exactly where you are in the close process, or are you able to enter transactions based on where the close is. So you would be able to see those on a dashboard. And we'll see that again in just a second. So let's go into the system and let's see all of the things that we just talked about. All right, so the first one, well, of course, we have a dashboard because that's where I love to start, but we're going to look at bank transactions. So in our checking account, I'm able to go over to the banking cloud and see I have it connected, my last transactions, and now I have all of my bank transactions. I can come over here and do a fund transfer, a journal entry. I can do a manual payment, or I can just ignore that transaction. Okay, and you're going to be able to create the matching transactions so that then this row would automatically be matched once you create the transaction. This is just making that reconciliation process that much faster. And that second place, so we can see those. Now we have a link here. So we were able to see those pending reconciliations or reconcile or the history. Now we can see the bank transactions that opens up into the banking account, checking account that shows all the cloud transactions. For the financial institution, so I created one, just called it Chase. And then all you have to do is go in and pull all Chase banks, you map them together. So when they're connected, the system will recognize that they're all from the same bank, and you will see that information as it comes through. Because we're in a demo environment, I have no way to bring in real Chase banks, but it would just look at all my connected banks, and I just don't have any for Chase. And this is permissionable. All right, so there are additional permissions that are added when this feature became available on Friday. So you would need to go into your cash management permissions and activate the financial institution. So I also wanted to show you the funds transfer and the new posting details tab. This is very cool. I just love this. Before, all we had, we knew it was cash, right? Because we're in cash. But if it was having to do with two entities, going from one entity to the other, I didn't see any of those enter entity postings, and I do now. So I have my standard entry. It's journal entry number 80, where I can see the journal entry. And then the enter entity journal entry that was posted as well, because this was location 1 and location 2. Two different entities created an enter entity transaction. And a little bit when we look at this posting again, we're also going to be able to see your transactions in different currencies. So I'm going to show you that on a different demo. You can also duplicate this information right here. Now to the rules. So I went ahead and set up just one rule to kind of give you an example of what a very basic rule would look like. And it needs an ID, just like everything in Intacct must have an ID. It cannot be changed once you save it. So I just started them all with an R, R001. Gave it a name. This is going to relate to the date, okay? And it's a matching rule. I'm not going to do any filter, so I'm going to close my filter screen so that I can show you the matching conditions, okay? So if you remember the attributes from the bank reconciliation before, you would know that you can do amount and date, and those were standard attributes, okay? So we have that ability. We also have document number and document number with the leading zeros removed. All right, so we're looking at the bank transaction field. And sometimes we have transactions that come in with leading zeros. Well, we don't have leading zeros in Intacct. but we still want to be able to match those transactions so we don't have to do those at the end of the month. We could come in and do a document number leading 0 removed. Okay, and I'm going to show you that in the next rule. So this was a very basic rule that I could set for the amount and the posting date. If I wanted to look at the posting date first and then the amount, I can do that. So I can order my rules and my conditions based on the way that I want them to look in the system. I can also group the transactions by document number and posting date. I also created the second rule, and that one is just to remove the leading zeros. I called it R002 just to be consistent. All right, I don't have any filters. If I did, I could filter intact transactions. Sorry, I have to grab it first. So then I can filter by specific operator. So if I pick transaction type, I can get equals. If I pick document number, so it's based on here what we are asking for, and we have to put a value in. So it's going to pull very specific information. Okay, I'm going to remove that so it doesn't mess up my view. So down here is where I pulled in the amount and the document number leading zeros, and I mapped it to document number here in Intacct. So when I run this rule, it is going to remove the leading zeros from any bank transactions and match them with the transactions in Intacct. Once you get your rules set up, then you're creating a rule set, right? And all that is you're telling the system which rules to apply on which accounts. So the rule set, I just did RS001, and I can see all of my accounts. Some of them I can take out. So if I don't want that Canadian account or that Australian account in there, then I can take them out. And my rule set will only apply to the accounts that I have mapped to this rule set. Okay, I can also add rules here, selecting a different rule, and I can go ahead and add the leading zeros rule as well. And I can close. So now the system will process the date rule, then it will process the remove leading zeros. Or I can reorder them again, and I can tell them in this rule set, you're going to process rule 2 first and then rule 1. Once you've got your accounts all set up with the rules, then you just go into cash management and you're able to, let me save that. Then you go right into your bank reconciliation, pick your bank, and I have an applied rule set here instead of the attributes. So it just took the place of the attributes. And then we can continue. The system will process, match, and show you only unmatched, just like it always did. And I went ahead and created a dashboard, and I pulled in those close through summaries. So I haven't even done a close in Company 300, but in 100, I do have most of the modules closed. Here, it's going to vary by different entities. And this is your summary view and the close through view. So this is just that new component. So you would add it here as a component and brings it in. And if you needed to go in and close, you can click on the module, make it a little bigger, and it brings you to close books. in that entity where you end up, and you can just close the books. All right, so then let me go back to my presentation. So we not only added a tab when we are looking at cash management type transactions, funds transfers, receipts, things like that. We're also able to see additional posting on order entry transactions. So before we were relying on that transaction definition as our posting, and there was really no way to see where something posted in the subledgers unless you went to the general ledger and printed that report. So now you have the ability here to see a tab. There's another tab between transaction and history, but it's only available if you view. If you're in edit, you do not see it. But if you're in view, you can see this tab. If it's a multi-entity posting, then oops, sorry about that. You will get the multi-entity listing where everything is posted. It's available at the top and at entity level both. And anybody with inventory, if you run that maintain inventory valuation tool and COGS is adjusted, that new posting will show here as well. In inventory, we've got the ability now. Before, the ability to allow negative inventory was global, right? I could allow it or not allow it. Now I have the ability to allow negative inventory for a specific warehouse. Okay, so warehouse transfers now allowed if you're set to go negative. So if you're not set to go negative in the warehouse, you're still not going to be able to do the specific transaction, right? So if you've got it set in configuration not to allow negative, then you're still not going to be able to allow negative. But if you've got it the opposite in your configuration, you could, by warehouse, determine if you wanted that inventory to go negative or not. And staying in inventory, they added cross-reference a release back, and it only had customer and vendor. So they've enhanced the cross-reference and the item file dramatically, and they've added a substitute item, an upgrade item, a complement item, as well as a downgrade. We've also got the vendor with the cross-reference ID as well as customer cross-reference ID. So they've really expanded what we're able to do with the different references. And you probably notice an item attributes tab. And in that tab, there are 40 attributes that the system has added. Some we have made as custom fields in some of your environments already. We've needed whether it was a web item or what the web description was. We have all these attributes now, and they're standard. Okay, so anybody that's actually not all the way live, I know I have several on here that are not live, and we're looking at items and how we can use them. This is really going to help. You don't have to really build some of those attributes in the system with product line and names. You can do it with your standard attributes. All right, let's go look at that in Intacct. So in our order entry transactions, if we go to view, we're able to see posting details. And in the posting details, I can see the invoice number and drill to it because that turned blue. I can also see the invoice date, the gross amount. In this situation, this was a transaction currency of US dollars. So there's your US dollars, but your base currency is in Canadian dollars. So you've also got your base amount. And you're also able to come in here and drill down and see that journal entry. So you've got your base amount, you've got your transaction amount. It does tell you your base currency is Canadian. And you can still see payments and history. They've just added that tab. I hope somebody is clapping and saying yay. I can't hear it, but I really hope somebody is happy about this. All right, let's look at, so this is where we're able to enhance that warehouse information. I also turned on tracking so that I could show you the different ability here to really track individually by description, zone, aisle, row. Excuse me. And then allowing that negative inventory for this warehouse. And then in our item, we have our new cross-reference, where we can come in here and set what the downgraded item is, or what the substitute item is, or what the vendor's cross-reference item number is. And then here's all of those attributes. Some of them are check marks. We can always print these as well. So imagine on your BOM, on shipping information, these now become standard. So we're able to use them a lot easier than before. Okay. And kind of where I think they're doing a lot of work is in reports. Because what they're doing is they're not only changing up the reporting that's within the system, so just all of these reports that you get when you first download the system, but they're also enhancing the reporting features and the reporting, oh no, I'm in this slide. The different modules that you can get for reporting. So the first one I want to talk about is Interactive Visual Explorer, right? There's an additional cost. It's a module, and it makes you feel like you're using 100% Power BI. It's got visual boards, data elements. You can move everything around, filter all of the content, and then build these presentations that you can then stack together and put them on your dashboards. You've got these workspaces that really can move around, and they all are interactive together. So as you move your different filters, everything is going to change and repopulate. You've got multiple canvases and workspaces that you can use. And it works a lot like the Intacct Custom Report Writer. That's an additional module as well, but it takes the report writer and adds to it and gives it BI on top of that. So this is one, I just pulled a snap of vendor. It's just a vendor dashboard with days aged, total due. It's just, it gives you that little extra when you're building some of those dashboards. We've also got a new reporting period in the standard financial report writer. So previously you would likely have had to put in a formula in order to get your budget actual versus difference, and now you have it, as well as a prorated forecast. Those were added as default column types in the report writer. So you'll be able to grab those and put them right in your reports. And any custom report writers that we have out there, they are trying to make this very hard module work by putting those filters, when you select your filters in the reporting, well, it's giving you the filter in the output of the report. So now you're seeing that the vendor equals 2007, and that was my filter. We can show that filter on the report by selecting, and we can have many filters. So this is the field, this is that section of the report writer where you could filter any of the columns, even the ones not on the report, to get different output for your data. So now you'll be able to see all of those filters. And then they have really enhanced the interactive custom report writer. Again, another module. This is, you can get different types of licensing as well, like a creator, a viewer. You could be a full developer on this as well. And as you can see, they're doing things that they've never done before. So they're allowing SQL statements as well as joins of different objects. So Intacct really is that object system. Anytime you're building a report, the very first thing you have to do is pick an object. Now they're allowing us to pick two. For example, accounts payable and accounts receivable. Well, that was never possible because we could only pick one at a time and they couldn't overlap. By writing SQL statements, they're allowing that customization in the interactive custom report writer. So all of the SQL builders out there were able to write those select statements just by clicking on new report, just a very simple statement that we're getting the output that we need. You can also add filters to some of those statements within the columns. And they've also increased those reporting areas. So we always have, this is the first place you have to start. You have to pick a reporting area. Every release, they are adding more areas. For example, they added enter entity transactions as a reporting area, meaning you could pull that area and it's going to give you every single thing in the system relating to enter entity. And you'll be able to pull that data onto a report. So if you haven't tried the custom reports, the standard custom reports, they are available and they're in the system for you to create right here using the wizard. And there's lots of them out there. You can create using that wizard, or you can start from a fresh one. All right, so let's look at our interactive reports. I like the AP. So as that one pulls up, you're going to start to see all of our individual little areas here start to populate, but everything says all. So now I can actually start really filtering down to see the information that only I want to see. So I just choose 2018, everything changes, right? So now I can choose just a department that I want to see. Again, my dashboard is going to change and repopulate. I also have different areas across the bottom. And I'm able to see all of my data in a over time here in a row format. Excuse me. So once I come back over to my over time, I can also come in and see my information if I just click on it. So I didn't click yet. All I did was hover and I got it pulled out, my 900,000. Okay, and then I can do the same thing and it's going to give me the different information that I need that's on my dashboard. I've got another one here that I pulled up, same thing. So you're able really to look at anything. So this is going to be budget, actuals, and I can see as I scroll into this dashboard, I can see my data here as well. I can make it repopulate based on different filters. So you can really get to your data here. Right, let's go back here and look at that financial report writer. So I want to show you that new column. So when we're picking these columns, the column types, you don't have to just leave it to that actual. We're able to go down and see these new columns. Okay, so you've got an actual budget versus actual difference. You've got that forecast. We've got a remaining budget as well. So when you pick those columns, that's where you're able to control the different information that you're bringing in. And the last one is the interactive custom report. So that's where we're able to see, I'm going to go over to the library, because when you subscribe to this, you're not on your own. You get over 60 reports already built for you. All you have to do is run them, and then you can save them and add, modify. You can do anything that you want to with them, but you get reports already. You can just run them, set different filters, set different prompts, and then you can add them to your dashboard, store them out for someone else to run. But there's one of the interactive custom reports, and that's just going to be top spend. You can filter. So this is just another reporting tool that the system does offer. Adding it to your dashboard, you can email these out, process and store, and you can also memorize them. And I'm going to go out and actually edit one of these because I want you to be able to see that if any of you guys are those SQL experts. I can go to custom. This is a brand new tab. And I can hit new report and I can create my SQL statement. And we do have people at HEB that are SQL experts that would be more than happy to help get some of these things built if you guys need that. Just let me know. So that was everything. That is all of the slides. Let me go back up here at the top. I wanted to see, Josh, do we have any questions that I can answer?
Nobody put one in yet, but it's open if anybody would like to.
All right, so let me go back. So we've got, this is going to be the poll to find out what you would like to learn more about. Interactive Custom Report Writer, that's the one I just showed you that has the SQL columns in on. Of course, there's going to be somebody that knows SQL helping. Budgeting and planning is going to be another separate module. And then vendor payments with CSI is going to be a payment tool that helps you with ACHs, bank files, and it saves money too, because it's a lot cheaper than the standard payment services that Intacct offers. All right, so hopefully you found something on the list that you like. If not, I love suggestions. Send me an email. Tell me what you would like, and we can absolutely plan to kind of have these on a more regular basis and get some additional information out to you guys. And we have a QR code here. This is how you're going to be able to register for the Intacct Release 3 webinar. So we'll have another one. It will go over the major highlights of Release 3, which comes out on August 20, I want to say 21st, 22nd, 20th. And so our webinar will be on the 24th. Okay, so if you would like to join, please register for that one. And it looks like the interactive custom report writer is winning the poll. So if you don't want to hear about that and you have not voted, please do so. And I want to thank you very much for joining. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to give you a few minutes back in your day so you can go get a drink or something to eat before you start the rest of your day. So thank you.